Now, there's no doubt that most of the LEGO Star Wars sequel sets got a bad rap, and it wasn't even LEGO's fault. Well, mostly not LEGO's fault. It was mainly due to Disney just producing poor movies that just made people lose interest in these sets no matter how good they were on paper. But there are also two other Star Wars movies that Disney produced that were both great films, that being Rogue One and Solo. Rogue One is so good, in fact, that it's actually tied for my favorite Star Wars movie right up next to Revenge of the Sith. And Solo, although not as good as Rogue One, was definitely a great Star Wars story and a breath of fresh air from the sequels. And despite these movies being very good and great for LEGO sets, LEGO has just forgot about them for some reason. Solo: A Star Wars Story was finally the big movie that was supposed to tell the origin story between Han Solo and Chewbacca, and it was actually a really decent movie. Although it was released in theaters on May 10th of 2018, only 5 months after The Last Jedi was released. Disney wanted it to be a big summer Star Wars movie, but the failure of The Last Jedi just made people lose interest in Disney's ability to produce a good Star Wars film, especially only 5 months later. So right off the bat, Disney had kind of set up LEGO for failure regarding the sets releasing from this movie. But at this point, it was too late to do anything about it, so regardless, the sets released on April 20th of 2018, just 20 days before the movie came out. And despite the circumstances, and despite 2018 being overall a really bad year for LEGO Star Wars, this wave of Solo sets was actually really good. Every set had great exclusive figures, especially the TIE Fighter and the Millennium Falcon, and even today in 2023, they are still performing on the third-party market very well. Of course, there were some bad ones here and there, especially in the second wave that came in August, specifically the Convex Transport, although despite the poor build, it had 5 exclusive figures, 2 of them being absolute fan favorites. So despite the bad release date, it looked like this movie had great potential for LEGO Star Wars, and there were still vehicles in the movie that could easily be great Star Wars sets, like the AT-DT, which could have been a nice $30 or $40 set, the TIE Brute, which would have been a great addition to the LEGO Star Wars TIE Fighter collection, and then of course the First Light, which could have been a great $150 set that could have been absolutely flooded with cool and exclusive minifigures. Although it seems like it's just too late now. 2019 rolled around and LEGO was just focused on things like the 20th anniversary sets, as well as The Mandalorian and The Rise of Skywalker releasing later that year, and they kind of just left Solo in the past. Despite its potential, they kind of just ignored it and moved on to Disney's new Star Wars content. On September 30th, 2016, LEGO released the main Rogue One wave, and it was incredible. We got 5 near-perfect LEGO Star Wars sets with amazing minifigure selections and absolutely incredible builds, including the best AT-ST LEGO has ever made, an amazing combo with the TIE Striker and the U-Wing, a great $30 hover tank which instantly became a fan favorite and was on the cheaper end, and one of the coolest and most intimidating LEGO Imperial shuttles we've ever seen. And then Rogue One came out about 2.5 months later on December 16th, 2016, and it absolutely delivered. It didn't have any of the problems that Solo nor the sequels had, as it was a great movie released at a great time. See, Disney released this movie a year after Episode 7 and a year before Episode 8, so it gave fans time to develop a desire for a new Star Wars film. I remember watching this opening night and I was just blown away. The way the movie was able to capture the true power and intimidation of the Empire was probably one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in a Star Wars film. And then of course the Vader hallway scene left me speechless like many others in the theater. Like I said, I think this is the best Star Wars movie right up next to Revenge of the Sith. Although the last LEGO Rogue One set we got was Vader's Castle back in 2019 and nothing since then. The movie is so loved by the LEGO community, and Scarif is one of the most popular planets for mock builders, and like I said, the sets were very well received. And also, like the sets from Solo, the sets from Rogue One are also performing extremely well in the third-party market, especially for being only about 7 years old. And there are so many more sets they could have made and technically still can make from this movie, like the AT-ATC, which was a very popular choice for mock builders back in the day, a Hammerhead Corvette which could pair extremely well with the Tantive 4, a TIE Reaper which could come with a good number of Death Troopers and is also another popular choice for mock builders and even still is today, and most notably an Imperial Cargo Shuttle, which actually, according to the designer of the LEGO Critic Shuttle, was the set that Lucasfilm actually wanted LEGO to make to lead the first wave of Rogue One sets, although LEGO happened to convince Lucasfilm that Critic Shuttle was the better option. And for the first wave of Rogue One sets, it definitely was the better option for the lead set, although the Imperial Cargo Shuttle definitely should have got some more attention from LEGO, and hopefully one day, most likely not, but one day could be made into a set. Also, LEGO doesn't even have to make new vehicles from this movie. They could easily just remake iconic ships and then theme them to Rogue One, similar to what they did with the 2017 Y-Wing and obviously the AT-ST. I mean, why can't we get a new X-Wing themed to Scarif with maybe a Shore Trooper and a few Rebels? Or why can't we get a new Playscale Star Destroyer that is themed to be Vader's Star Destroyer from Rogue One? Not even to mention, there's literally an endless list of possible battle packs LEGO could make based off of this movie. Also, another thing about Rogue One is that it it is very intense compared to the other Star Wars movies except maybe Revenge of the Sith, so wouldn't that make it perfect for a UCS sets targeted towards adults? Like a UCS U-Wing or a UCS Krennic's Imperial Shuttle. They might not be as iconic as maybe an X-Wing or an AT-AT, although I still think they would both sell extremely well as UCS sets. I mean, LEGO made a $600 UCS Razor Crest, which is a lead ship from a series, so why couldn't they make a UCS set that is a lead ship from a multi-million-dollar movie? It just doesn't really make sense to me. It really seems that LEGO's only reasoning for leaving Rogue One and for leaving Solo is that fans have just moved on. Disney is just giving us so many new shows that are receiving great reviews that the movies they produce, especially the spin-offs, are just so far in the past and they aren't relevant for LEGO sets anymore. But this also brings up a massive question. What makes a LEGO Star Wars set relevant? Now, the obvious answer to this question is just a set that is based around new Star Wars content coming out at the time, like the new Ahsoka series sets that recently just got revealed, although this clearly is not the case. Is the new 2023 Yoda Jedi Starfighter relevant? Clone Wars Season 6, where this vehicle is based off of, came out in 2014, almost 10 years ago. Not to mention, the first version of this set came out only 6 years ago in 2017. Another set to mention is the Sandspeeder from 2018, a vehicle that was literally made up for a toy line in the 80s that never even got released, and LEGO for some reason decided to make it a set, and it actually worked. Or even any other Star Wars Legends sets like the Shadow Trooper Battle Pack, which is based off of The Force Unleashed, or the TIE Crawler from 2007, which only appeared in a few novels, most notably The Dark Empire from the 90s, which is a very popular series for die-hard Star Wars Legends fans, although it definitely wasn't relevant to kids in 2007 at all. Or even the TIE Defender, which was Legends at the time of its release in 2009. None of these sets were relevant or even made sense to be made LEGO sets, but they all still worked and they were all great sets, which really means that relevance doesn't even matter to make a good LEGO Star Wars set. And those are just Legends sets. I mean, every year LEGO will pick a few random sets to throw in that aren't relevant, but they still work. Like this year in 2023, like I said, it's the Yoda's Jedi Starfighter. Last year it would have been a set like the Republic Fighter Tank, or maybe even BD-1. Now you could argue that the characters in these movies aren't really as recognizable, although that's really a poor argument, as the Death Trooper and the Shore Trooper are two of the most popular LEGO Star Wars figures. And not to mention, both movies are based right in the middle of the Imperial era, so there's really just endless possibilities to make either new vehicles with iconic figures, or new figures with iconic vehicles. So after all these points I've given, why has LEGO moved on from these movies? And the real answer is, I just don't know. My best guess is that they think any sets made from Disney Star Wars movies will not perform to their standards, although in reality it's mainly just sequel sets. Rogue One and Solo are both great films that are loved by the LEGO community and the Star Wars community that could easily get 1 or 2 great sets a year, although for some reason LEGO just continues to ignore these movies.